Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our Senior Advocacy Forum. My name is Brian Tully with Tully Law Group, of course. What we'll do, like we do all the time, is just give it a couple of minutes just for people to register, and we'll be back shortly. All right, so we're going to get started. I'm going to ask our panelists to join us again. All right, thank you. Okay, wonderful. Okay, again, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here with us for our Senior Advocacy Forum for February. February is officially the National Senior Independence Month. And so today we're going to be talking about the top ways to maintain senior independence. And we have a great group of panelists that deal and help families with independence every single day during their careers. So let me introduce our guests for today. We have Stuart Almer, who is the president and CEO of Gurwin Healthcare System. He joined Gerwin back in 2015, assuming his current role in January of 18. Prior to that, Stuart served in administrative roles at Parker Jewish Institute for Health Care and Rehab, as well as in several different acute care settings over the course of his more than 30-year career. Stuart serves on the boards of many industry and community organizations and has been honored numerous times by professional and community groups. So thank you for joining us, Stuart. It's a pleasure to have you. Then we have Don Blecher. He's a mobility consultant and he's part of the original team from 101 Mobility. He's been with them for over 5 years, consulting with clients about their in-home accessibility solutions. He strives to give as many options as possible in any given situation, of course, trying to keep costs in mind. Don has also served as a past firefighter, lieutenant, and captain of the Garden City Park Volunteer Fire Department. Thank you, Don, also for joining us. And finally, last but not least, we have Jim Day. Jim Day is the training director at Fitzgerald Driving School. He holds New York State certifications to teach the New York State Defensive Driving Course and the DMV 5-hour pre-licensing class and the mandatory 30-hour driving instructor college course. However, the interesting part is his primary focus is training individuals to drive who have cognitive and physical disabilities. And his claim to fame is being featured on the Inside Edition show for the work that he's done with seniors to help them refresh their driving skills. So welcome, Jim, and thank you also for being here.
Thank you.
So now, senior independence. It's what we all strive for. It's what we help our clients, our patients, and our customers to pursue each day. Now, let's start. I'm going to start off with Stuart so we can open up the discussion here. So Stuart, Gerwin has been around for generations. Stuart, Gerwin is a name that people know of when we think of rehabilitation, when we think of long-term care. But if you can, Stuart, share what's going on with Gerwin, the communities that you're developing, the resources and the programs that you have, please.
Sure. Thanks, Brian, and great to be here with everyone today. We enjoy a rich history in taking care of individuals in the community, and our niche has always been historically short-term rehab, and maintaining independence, and helping people at times regain their independence. That's been our focal point for now about 34 years. And last year, around this time, we opened up our new independent housing community known as Fountain Gate Gardens. And Fountain Gate is very significant because it is independent living. Individuals have to be independent when they join us, but there's always a potential that when things change, we'll have those supports in place for them. So historically, we've had folks come via the hospital network, join our system and utilize our services. This is now a bit of a sea change for us. Now we're seeing folks join us through the independent housing side, and maybe they graduate to our other services. So we're learning now how to really operate from two ends of the spectrum.
Certainly, certainly. So as you said, the rehab is what you've been known for generations. And now you're independent living, and Fountain Gate is going to have that continuum, right? To help folks keep that independence as they progress.
Correct. We're known as what's called by definition a life plan community. A life plan community is a state designation. It is popular in other states and becoming a bit more popular here. But basically is the combination of independent housing, assisted living, and skilled nursing.
Wow.
And so we provide all those services. We provide many other services that all fit in very well and dovetail nicely with everything that we do. For example, we have 2 home care agencies, 2 adult daycare programs, a dialysis center. I can go on and on. We do a lot of work in the area of memory care. So really, we're doing everything that is needed for older adults.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So with that in mind, it's a good segue. Don, are you there?
I
Lost your camera.
I'm here. Yes,
Is your camera? There we go.
I'm here. Sorry, I'm back.
So Stuart had mentioned home care. And so for a lot of our clients, and when we sit with our elder care based clients or those younger folks that are looking to plan and protect, the ideal, at least they think at that point in time, is to stay home. Now, in your experience and with your expertise, you're there to help families and individuals make certain accommodations in the house so they can stay there safely for as long as possible. So in that regard, what do you do most for families and individuals to stay safely? What kind of work and accommodations do you make in the home?
Well, it can be something, really as simple as getting them into the home when they come home from wherever they might be, whether it be rehab or the hospital, just getting them into the house so that they can be home, or helping them get anywhere inside the home. So we kind of take 2 different kinds of phone calls here at One-on-One Mobility. It's someone that's looking for something specific. I need a wheelchair ramp to get inside my house. I need a stair lift to get up to my bedroom upstairs. And we'll go in focusing on that specific request initially. And then we'll also discuss anything else that might be of a concern, because typically when someone calls us that they're not exactly sure everything we do, and they're surprised to find out that One-on-One Mobility kind of encompasses a lot of things. And the second type of call we get is someone that calls us and says, I need help. I need someone to assess my home, find out where my safety issues are, and what can we do to alleviate them or make us a little safer in the home. And that's a little more encompassing of a generalization of the home itself, where I'll actually start my evaluation before I even get into the home by checking outside, seeing what's going on outside. How are these people probably going to have a challenge getting into the house? And then, I come into the home and I sit down, whether it's the seniors themselves or lots of times it'll be the children that are looking to plan for something while mom or dad is in rehab, recovering from something, and they're trying to plan as well. And it all starts with really a conversation. What is it that's your concern? What are you concerned about? What are your issues? What are your worries while in the house? And it's funny because lots of times in talking with the seniors themselves, they don't often really know. They say, well, I don't really know what my issues are, because they're not really thinking of it. They think of it in the time that it might occur, but when I'm asking, they're not really thinking back to that. So we really kind of do a little walkthrough around the house, and I go over everything that I know that could possibly be an issue, and I'll point it out to them. and see, is this an issue for you? Whether it's they're walking in a walker, well, you've got a lot of carpet runners here that are kind of loose, may not be the best thing to do, or their bathroom is on the upper level. Maybe we need a stair lift to go on the stairs.
Right.
You know, it's really about talking to them, whether it's the seniors again or the children, and having a two-way discussion about
Right.
what's important to you, what is concerns for you, and then here's what I have found in my experience to be concerns. Do you find it challenging?
Right.
That's a really kind of a general synopsis of what
Good.
I would do in the home.
And then depending on what's found, what's recommended, you can make the accommodations, like you said, the stair ramp, stair lift, or perhaps a ramp for the entrance or the exit. Doorways, you do all those types of situations.
Right.
Okay.
Right, whether it's
Got it.
why in the bathroom. We do a lot of things, and there's some things that we don't do. And so if it's something that's a concern that we don't necessarily handle, I can certainly tell them, you know, a recommendation of where they might be able to go to get that help.
Right.
Like, for example, hospital beds. We
Yeah.
don't supply hospital beds,
Right.
but I can help you get to where you need to go for
Sure.
that.
Understood.
And if I could jump in, Brian, you know, the services that Don's agency is providing is key. Whether or not we go in and provide the home care services, that's one thing.
Right.
We have to make sure that before we discharge someone from our program, and we discharge many folks every day,
Right.
we have to make sure that those supports are in place at home. We're
Right.
responsible, it's the right thing to do to have
Yeah.
a safe discharge. So thankfully, agencies like Don's
Right.
does that. And again, whether or not we provide it, we have to ensure safety. Really, it's what it's all about. It's, you know, safety is an important part of independence.
Independence. Well, absolutely. And without safety, the independence comes into question. You know, and again, that's a good segue to Jim. But I want to share, if any of our viewers have questions, we're here to answer them. If there's a Q&A box or a chat box at the bottom of your screen, just feel free to enter your question there, and we'll get to it at the end. Now, Jim, I was happy to hear you were able to join us today as well, because I've been practicing elder law for 25 years. And if there's one thing that pops up consistently, it's mom and the driving, usually dad and the driving. And I've got stories from families, again, going back forever, you know, removing the steering, removing the keys, removing this, you know, pulling out different plugs in the engine so the car doesn't start. Driving is a significant issue for families, which we'll get into momentarily. But the initial question I want to ask you, Jim, is if you're working with a senior, perhaps starting to show some cognitive decline, what types of tips and safety advice do you give to them so that they can drive safer and maintain some independence?
So if I'm working with somebody who's starting to show cognitive decline, okay? So this gets very tricky because
Sure.
it can become emotional.
Yep.
Many times that person will be in denial. They won't accept that this is happening. So some of the things that I like to do is, first of all, I identify all of the weaknesses, such as I ask them, well, what is your route? What is your daily activities? Where do you go? And then we'll practice that. And if I find that this road is too busy or too difficult, we'll change the route. And we'll restructure their daily activities to things that they can handle, okay? We'd like to make sure that we can do that before something bad happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, because before there's an accident or before there's a request for review from the DMV, it becomes very cumbersome to come back from that. So first, I'd like to also give them an interview where I ask them some very pointed questions, and I can identify their weaknesses, such as driving at night, driving on the highway, driving in making left-hand turns at busy intersections. So this comes into changing the routes, making sure physically that they're physically capable to drive, okay? Sometimes they have lost the endurance, the strength, and the mobility for some of the rides that they want to encounter. Once again, many of them are in denial and they think they drive as good as they did 40 years ago,
Yeah.
which becomes very problematic to get past that point.
Mm-hmm.
But once they have confidence in what the process, they really buy into it,
Mm-hmm.
and they thrive and they do very well.
Good.
Case in point, I have one very large group of people, nuns from the Sisters of St. Dominic,
Mm-hmm.
over 400 of them. Been doing this with them for about 8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
When we first went there, there was severe resistance. They didn't want me there. They wanted me to leave. I
Yeah.
thought they were going to give me flat tires in the,
Good
okay,
thing they were the nuns. Yeah.
right. So, but over time, I gained their confidence,
Yeah.
and I've had tremendous success keeping them on the road,
Mm.
and that's the key. Once they buy into that I'm trying to help them stay on the road,
Right.
maintaining their independence and freedom, they start to buy into it.
Good. Good. Now, can you share, Jim, some warning signs? You know, if you're interviewing like you shared there, what are some warning signs that should prompt a child or a spouse to say, hey, listen, we need to look into this further, or talk to a doctor, et cetera?
Sure. So if they get lost,
Mm.
okay, if they are encountering near misses, okay, or if they're having fender benders
Yeah.
anywhere, but a lot of times right in their own home,
Mm.
okay, they'll run into the garage,
Right.
they'll hit the car next to them in the driveway. Sometimes they'll park on top of the curb, not even realizing it, okay?
Okay. Great.
So these are warning signs. Where other people are saying, hey, you know what? I won't accept a ride from that person anymore. Nobody wants to get in the car
Yep.
with grandma or grandpa anymore, okay?
Yeah.
Big warning signs. Driving at night when they can't recognize signs. These are all very, very big warning signs.
Very good. Very good. Great points there. And I can even think back to my own grandparents and it was the garage. They would start getting the dings on the garage coming in and out. And there you go. Good point. So Stuart, if I may, driving and again, going back to rehabilitation and if there's a slip and a fall, if we're dealing with trying to restore that senior so that they can function, you at Gerwin Rehab have, right, the facilities to work through those car incident, right?
Yeah.
Experience. Good.
In fact, it's nice that, Jim, that you're on the call today, because what you're doing is you're doing preventive work
Yeah.
to prevent a problem. We kind of have the folks that life has changed for them, and we're
Yeah.
trying to rehab them, get them well, maintain their health. As part of our rehab program, ironically, you may not know, we have an actual car that's in one of our gyms. And that car is very helpful, because if we're going to get someone well, they're going to go home, they may be driving again. And so we help them how to get in and out of the car. We're not driving them, but we help them with ambulating in and out, because you know what we took for granted before is now something we have to retrain someone on. You know, so much of what we do is retraining, whether it be occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy. It's all restorative to get back independence. So you'd be glad to know we're doing that. And then hopefully if they are back on the road, folks are safe.
Yeah, great. Now, if we then progress to your other communities, Stuart, like the independent or the assisted, what type of interactions are there, or are there certain programs to help seniors maintain their independence at that level?
Yeah, so there are. So for example, at our new community in Fountain Gate Gardens, we have educational programs.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll bring in, you know, outside guests who can speak to particular needs, all based on healthcare.
Yeah.
But we also have a personal trainer who's part of our team.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very modern, state-of-the-art gym that the residents have access to.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the program is just good on keeping people sharp, mind, body. We have an older resident in terms of our population in this independent community. The average age of folks moving in, we just opened last year, is 82 years of age.
Wow.
Yet they're fully independent, and they want to be challenged, and they're active. Most drive. We have parking available to them. But our team is very astute and educated that if something is changing with a resident there, we know when it might be time to have a conversation with them, perhaps with family if we need to, where they may need to move on to the other services we provide. When I mentioned the life plan community, when one joins our program at Fountain Gate, they actually buy into a life plan. So should they ever need the services of assisted living, because things have changed, or the nursing home services, that is covered and already paid for. So it's a kind of a safety net that we provide in this type of initiative. So we know when it's time for someone perhaps to move on. And that's not our goal. Our goal is independence.
Yeah.
Many folks that come to learn about our programs, they're always concerned, well, are you going to just put me in the nursing home? And we say, no, that is never our goal. That does not work for us. It does not work well for the community. But I often say that nature does run its course at some point, and there will be individuals who will need those other services. And since we opened last year, we've already had some individuals who've needed our services. And the beauty of this is they don't lose their home. So if there's a couple and one individual life has changed and then you move over, the spouse or partner maintains their home. The home only comes back to us for resale once it is fully vacated. So it's really designed to help our system. And during these difficult times, that's very important, as well as to, again, get back that independence.
Yeah, great. Now, again, in the work we do in sitting with folks, we're often having discussions about residential options and where to move on to and so forth. Now, and I just want to share, Stuart, and I think you'd agree with this 100%, just because a senior moves into an independent or an assisted living, it does not mean they're losing their independence at all. This is just another transition, another move, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, someone could be in our assisted living facility, and we may recognize that maybe there's some changes. They can still live in the assisted living, but maybe they should not be driving. So we'll do really what Jim is doing in his agency within our own facility. And we have responsibility for that, right? We're responsible for the individuals. And if we see something changing, we need to point that out, educate, and help move them along in the process.
Yeah, great. So Don, back to the community, back to home. A lot of times we're approached by children, right, concerned about their parents. Now, I'm sure that probably happens in your field as well, right? You'll get a call saying, mom can't do the stairs anymore, but mom doesn't want anybody in the house. Mom doesn't want a ramp on the front lawn. So Don, if you're contacted by concerned children or other family members, how would you approach that with them? And then how would you approach it with the senior themselves? Because you might professionally agree this is needed. So let's get it done. So how do you handle that?
Sure, that actually comes up a lot. I've never had someone say, I can't wait to get my stair lift. I'm so excited. But I've had people say, a lot of people, customers say, I'm glad I got it. And the hardest part sometimes that the children have is trying to tell their parents what they should be doing. We spent most of our lives, having our parents guide us and tell us what to do. And now, we've reached an age where it's time for us to do that for our parents. And as much as the parents might resist, sometimes it's awkward for the children as well. You don't feel like I should be doing this when really all you're doing is trying to help them after all the years that they've helped you. And that's kind of how I try to put it with the children that I work with. And I say children in terms of what
Adults,
we talk about. I kind of have gone through that situation with my parents when they were still around, is that we had to kind of say, Mom and Dad, you've done so much for us, now let us help you. And it's really about the subject of today is independence, right? And that's what that they should really convey to the parents is that we're trying to keep you independent. We're trying to allow you to be able to be safe in your home and not have to worry about me coming over all the time to get you up the stairs or
Yeah.
in the house or in the shower, and I think that word independence is key, because that's what they all want, right? I mean, whether it's the driving or the assisted living with Stuart or with us, they want to remain that independence. They don't want to feel like something's being taken away from them.
Right.
So that's key. But I'll talk with them initially about what their concerns are, and we don't necessarily. One thing to let the parent know is we're not necessarily making decisions today. So I can come into the home and we can talk about anything and everything under the sun about what might be available to help you, what challenges you have.
Right.
But mom, don't worry. We're not putting that stair lift in today. We're not making you make a decision today. We just want you to be aware of what the options are. And then you can discuss it, because sometimes, I think that, Jim, you mentioned before about denial, not really want to admit that, I do need the help. Sometimes that takes a little bit to set in. So if we can at least get the discussions going, then the actual plan of action might come down the road. But at least we get that going to start the dialogue. And I'm there to talk to them, whether it's in the home or I've told, people, let's have a conference call. I don't have to be in the home necessarily. I can talk to them over the phone. And,
Right.
A big part of, I think, all four of us in what we do is gaining trust and having them trust that we're there to help them and not take from them. And I think that's the biggest start.
Yeah.
It's human nature for people to be stubborn. So when you mention education, it's key. It's a process. It's at times a frustrating process. Listen, I've been there, on the personal side, I get it as well. So education starts up front. It's got to be persistent. Sometimes just nature takes care of itself and individuals realize we were right in everything we were saying all along. But it's got to be good, gentle education as well, because when you force it on someone, that's not often well received.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed. Our logo here at the law firm, it's Tully Law Group, it's elder care and estate planning, but we're about honor and protect. And it's honoring, it's respecting, it's not forcing plans or strategies or anything down anybody's throat. It's about respecting where they are and what they're going through at that point. So agreed, Stuart. Now, Don, one last point. So you as a retired firefighter, how many times have you been to the house to help people up, right? When they've hit the ground, unfortunately.
And usually it's around 3 o'clock in the morning when they've fallen out of bed. But that's a big part of it, is that, we all need help at some point.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest thing to admit. And there's some people that will sit on that floor for hours until they finally decide, you know what, I need to call someone for help.
Yeah.
But there's no shame in getting for the help that you need. And a big word that was coming up throughout everyone's discussion was kind of, with the independence is really planning, right? And preventive. And in the industry that I'm in, unfortunately, all too often we're reactive. Mom fell, needs getting, she's in a wheelchair or whatever. And it really goes a long way to have these conversations and try to be preventive, even if it's not putting that plan to action yet. Don't wait for the fall to think about the stair lift.
100%.
Don't wait about anything. And all four of us, what we do, don't wait. There's nothing wrong with talking about a plan of action if and when that time might come.
That's exactly where I wanted you to go when I brought that up. So thank you, Don. Now, Jim, two-part question, Jim. We were talking earlier about training and helping somebody perhaps that's starting to slow down, perhaps somewhat of a cognitive decline. So confirm with me, though, there is, of course, a time when it's no longer safe for a senior to drive, any person for that matter. At what point would you make a recommendation that there is no longer driving if we're dealing with cognitive, and how would you go about trying to initiate that stoppage?
Wow. Okay. So obviously this is a very delicate and difficult matter at this point. Okay. Because you have this individual's independence in your hands. Okay.
Sure.
So, right. So after all of the preventive action that I've taken, as proactive as I can possibly be, if it finally becomes determined that they are a hazard on the road, all right, that they are dangerous to themselves and others around them, meaning they can't stay in their lane. Okay, they're turning and they're going into oncoming traffic, or they're driving consistently, they're hitting the sidewalk, or even going up on the sidewalk. They're unable to stop properly at a stop sign. Sometimes they don't see the stop signs.
Right.
So these are obviously very big warning signals, and it becomes a very delicate matter. Typically, you want whoever the closest relative is with them to be with you when you start to talk about this, and you want to give them a good plan going ahead, like that there will be support for them, even though that their driving privileges, we're going to recommend that you don't drive anymore. Unfortunately, we're very sorry about this, but we're going to do our best through this support system, through your family, whatever support system we can set up, that you're going to not lose your independence and still be able to get around.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
And that sometimes that sometimes calms them down, but sometimes it is a very emotional time, and it's a very difficult time, and nobody ever looks forward to that. Obviously. Yeah.
Does it end with you and the family, or does the doctor get involved? Does DMV get involved? Do the police get involved?
Oh, that all can happen. Okay. Right. But many times it will end with just me and the family.
Okay.
Or in the terms of with the sisters, the nuns, me and the congregation. Okay.
Okay.
And they've built such a tremendous support system because they have the resources.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay.
So many times there will be a medical review where the doctor just states, unfortunately, this person is not physically capable to drive.
Okay.
That does happen. Sometimes the DMV, there'll be a request for a driver review. That can be filed from a neighbor, from the police, from a family member.
Right.
And then they'll have to go for a road test.
Okay.
And if that road test cannot be passed, then it'll be an edict down from DMV that you just don't have your license anymore.
Yeah. Understood.
So it is a very difficult process. Yeah.
Absolutely. And emotional as well, like you shared.
And it can be scary for them too.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes in. The word independence is tied with a lot of emotion, of course. So in our last minute or so, Jim, if a child approaches you, if you get a call today from a child who watched our forum here today and said, listen, I want to talk to my parents. This is happening. There's dings in the car. Dad got lost. How would you approach that? Is it asking the child to reach out to bring the parents into you? How does that work? How do you approach that topic when the children are concerned?
Yeah. So ideally, I would prefer if they can, the child and the senior come to our facility when I can give them I have a self-rating form with about 15 questions or so. And I implore them to be honest. I hope that they are. And, they can see in black and white where they are. And then we can try and tackle those problems.
Great.
We want to do it as gingerly and as graceful as possible.
Sure.
So that this way the senior will buy into the fact that we're trying to, as you said, which was fantastic, honor and protect their interests. Okay.
Fair. Good. Stuart, as we start wrapping up here, is there any last point you wish to share about seniors and independence? And then please also share how our viewers can learn more about Gerwin and your services and your communities.
Sure. A couple of comments. The first one is individuals really realize how important we all are once they need our services.
Mhm.
right? There are many individuals not be looking for our services until something is happening or has happened, and then they realize how important we are. All of us, if we have a disability, an injury, realize that we need help and assistance. So recognizing that, is very, very important. In fact, we lobby for funding, for supports as a nonprofit, and we're always saying how important we are. And you will know if your family has an issue.
Mhm.
We take care of older adults, and of course, the family is very important to us. Our new independent housing property, the client is the resident. It's
Mhm.
not as much the family in that setting. That's been different for us. But when we do talk to families, they tell us how happy they are with their parents' choice, because their choice here is about safety.
Mhm.
We're a very well-known brand and providing quality care. So there's a comfort level, and they're very happy. So it's interesting, just the differences that we face.
Mhm.
I just want to also mention, and I answered the chat for everyone regarding where we are based. But besides our 36-acre campus here in Comac, we do have another skilled nursing facility we acquired 2 years ago in Holtzville. It's exit 63 off the Long Island Expressway. So we now have a further reach. We've always been well known, and we see people from outside of the area, but we can go certainly, far out to the East End and anywhere west and beyond. Everything is known through our website, www.gerwin.org, and someone would learn all about our programs and services on that website.
Great. Thank you, Stuart. How about you, Don? Any last parting thoughts that you want to share about independence and seniors? And of course, how can folks contact you and your company?
Sure. So I think that a common thread through everything that we've been kind of talking about tonight is about, or today, this afternoon, is about really that we're not trying to force something on you. We're trying to do things and give you support to help. So, Jim had kind of mentioned about being honest. In all stages of our lives, we've gone through times where we just can't do what we used to be able to do. Doesn't matter really what age. And it's really just knowing and really coming to understanding that that's the case, and what can I do to mitigate that. It's about safety, and it's about peace of mind. About
Mhm.
peace of mind for yourselves as the seniors, that you're going to be safe, that your spouse or whoever's in the home with you is going to be safe. And it's
Mhm.
peace of mind for your family too, to know that you're keeping your independence, and they know that you're safe, and they don't have to worry, because that's a big part of it, is worrying, when you're not there, what could possibly happen. So, don't think of it as in any of the services that we provide, something that's negative. It's all positive about helping you as the senior, or even the caretaker, in doing things to remain that goal of independence, which we all want. That's really it. In regards to the services that we do, um, you can give us a call. Our main number is 516-500-3100. We're 101 Mobility, Long Island. We're a franchise, so there's a lot of 101 mobilities out there, but we handle Long Island and most of the boroughs. We can go actually all the way up to Staten Island if needed, all the way up to Montauk. And it's just a phone call to start the conversation. You're not buying into anything. We do free evaluations to come out to the home, no obligation. And, we can help friends, family outside of New York as well. It may not be one-on-one mobility in Long Island, but we can get you in touch with one of our sister one-on-one mobilities throughout the U.S.
Very good. Thank you, Don. Thank you. And
Thank you.
before I get to Jim, again, if you've got questions, and we'll do that right after Jim's points here, we'll go check the questions momentarily. So Jim, any parting thoughts that you wish to share? And then, of course, how can folks contact you and the company?
Sure. Prior planning, being proactive. Let's get out in front of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's not wait until something bad has happened. Okay. Because it's hard to come back from that.
Mhm.
We can be contacted at 631-667-9642
Mhm.
or fitzgeraldsdrivingschool.com.
Okay.
You can come to our facility here, and we also will respond to your home too if you're more comfortable there as well.
So
And
where's
our-
the school? Where's the school located, Jim?
Because the school is located 1350 Deer Park Avenue,
Oh, okay.
North Babylon.
Got
Yep.
it. Okay. Central.
And my car is also equipped with handicap adaptive devices. So if a student needs hand controls, a left foot gas pedal, we can handle that as well.
Understood. Understood.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. So again, any questions, please enter them into the box right now. I do think, Adam, I think we addressed your concern there. Now, Steve, you asked about a question for Stuart. Did you see that question, Stuart? So there's a question there about whether any type of mortgages are available in a Fountain Gate type of community, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah, I responded to Steve with a really a general answer that
Okay.
we'll look at many different financial options
Okay.
to help qualify someone to come into our system.
Yeah.
You know, our goal is to work with people to get them in.
Right.
And sometimes that takes a lot of effort and creativity. So
Mhm.
I won't, you know, we don't rule out any particular type of option like a reverse mortgage.
Understood. Understood. All right. So I do not see any other questions. I want to make sure I don't see any other questions. So on that note, Stuart, thank you very much. Don, thank you for joining us. Jim, thank you for all the information as well. I think this was a great time together. A lot of great information was shared, and folks know how to contact you to help their loved ones maintain their independence. So thank you again. All right.
Okay, thank you. I
Thank you, Brian.
appreciate it.
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Take care.